right, does this one work?
Yep.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Melanie Galloway, and I'm president of the South County Democratic Club. Annette Brealing is vice president here in the front, and Gary Bollicky is our program chair. I want to tell you a little bit about the South County Dems before we get started. This is the regular monthly meeting of the South County Dems. We hold monthly meetings every month. They vary between in-person and Zoom. The idea is to give as many people as possible an opportunity to attend. While South County is in our name, it does not mean anything. We welcome attendees from anywhere, so anybody can join us at our monthly meetings. I do want to mention our April meeting, April 18th. We are talking about voting, fair and free elections, and voter suppression. We have quite a coup in that we have Stephanie Thomas, who is Secretary of the State of Connecticut. She will be joining us. She is also Vice Chair of the Democratic Association of Secretaries of State. So she'll be talking to us about a national perspective of what's going on with voting in this country. In addition, we have Lauren Kunis, who is Executive Director for Vote Riders. Vote Riders is a national organization that seeks to help voters obtain necessary ID materials in order that they can vote. And then we also have Barbara Wagner, who is the director of Frederick County Board of Elections with us. So it'll be quite an opportunity. It is by Zoom and you require RSVP in order to get into this, which is we hope you're Today, at this meeting, we're having a forum for candidates from County Council District 2 and at-large candidates. This is in conjunction with the Democratic Central Committee. And we appreciate that all of you are here, both candidates and attendees, and making time this morning to join us and an opportunity to learn about these candidates and what their positions are. In order to facilitate a respectful forum, we ask that all rules of decorum apply. That is, no booing, no heckling, no shouting out. That will make it a much more pleasant experience for attendees as well as the candidates. Let me tell you what the forum rules are. We have two forums going on today. The first is for County Council District 2, and those candidates are sitting before you, Shelley Beard-Francois and James Chocolate. That forum will take about 25 minutes. After that forum is done, we'll have to switch out and we'll have the four at-large candidates that join us in the front. And those at-large candidates are Tiffany Grant, Renee Knapp, Sam Newhouse, and Morel Young. The candidates will be seated alphabetically starting from the left, and that will also denounce the way that we're going to be handling the order of the question. So it will start with the person on the left and proceeding to the right. Each candidate will have the opportunity for a 1-minute opening statement. Each one of the questions, they will have 90 seconds to respond. In addition, the candidates will have a choice of 2 questions that they might want to rebut. The way the rebuttals work is after all the candidates have had an opportunity to answer the question, a candidate that wants to rebut will need to speak up and say, I would like to use one of my 30-second rebuttals. That would start the time, and then that rebuttal could occur. If other candidates also want to rebut the same question, they likewise would need to speak up, and then we would give them that opportunity. After all the questions have been answered, each candidate will be allotted a 2-minute closing statement. We anticipate each candidate will get 4 questions. If we have time, we may go to a 5th. So the way it will work then is we use cards to alert candidates about the timing associated with each segment of the forum. So the green card will indicate what time is available for that segment and will indicate that they should start talking. The yellow card will give a 15-second notice that they need to wrap up their remarks within that remaining 15 seconds. The red card is an indication that time is up, and that will be accompanied by verbal notification from Gary that they need to stop talking, that their time is up. There will be no opportunity for questions from the audience. This is the way the Democratic Central Committee normally runs its forums. There are pre-arranged questions of broad general interest for voters that have already been established. The candidates have been given the topic areas for those questions, but they will not learn the specific question until hearing it today, this morning. There is one microphone for 2 candidates in the at-large set. So in the at-large candidates, they will be switching back and forth and passing that microphone in order to make it work. Assisting today are timekeepers, Gary Bollicky and Bruce Katz, and also we have moderator Deb Reynolds, who I'm going to introduce in just a minute. I also want to take an opportunity to thank Gary Bollicky and the program committee. A lot of work goes into arranging a forum. You can't even imagine all the logistics and all the details that need to be paid attention to. So a lot of kudos to Gary and the work that he and his team put into this. We are pleased to have as moderator Deb Reynolds. Deb is one more Hood alumni who fell in love with Frederick and has been here ever since she graduated. She and her husband Dale raised their family here, and both of their children are graduates of Frederick High School. Professionally, Deb has sold advertising to local small businesses for her entire career. In addition to her political work, Deb served as a board member and president of Frederick's Golden Mile Alliance. She started volunteering for the Democratic Central Committee in 2016. In 2017, she was appointed to the Democratic Central Committee. She was elected in 2018 and re-elected in 2022. Also in 2022, Deb was elected vice chair of the DCC and is running again in 2026. She has worked on outreach projects, helped organize rallies and protests, and worked on events organizing, fundraising, and campaign strategy. It was with pleasure that I turn the District 2 Forum over to Deb Reynolds to get us started with the candidates and their opening statements.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I will turn over to our first candidates. Good morning.
Good morning.
And for our opening statement, we start with Shelley Beard-Francois.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Shelley Beard-Francois. I am originally from New York, and I moved to this area over 22 years ago. I had a short stint in the Davisburg area. I always say that I was born a Democrat because I grew up, my family was heavily involved in politics. My grandmother was she was a 4'11" cafeteria worker, and she got involved in politics. And I remember growing up, it's like, grandma's going to Albany, grandma's going to Albany, all the time. One of our close family friends was actually Shirley Chisholm. So I grew up always being involved in campaigns, stuffing envelopes probably before I knew exactly what I was doing, going on motorcade rides with the different politicians of Brooklyn, New York. So that was like my early life, and then I kind of pursued other things, moved on, eventually to Frederick.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie Shopland, and I am a longtime Urbana resident. I am also a mom of twins. My daughter Marlos has spent the last 2 summers here at Barty, so it's great to be here, and she looks forward to coming back again. And I am, in my professional life, a digital technology strategist, so I understand the intersection of the challenges that are coming to our county, where technology is converging with the policy and legislative decisions that we have ahead of us, and we know we're going to hear about data centers, which I know is on the minds of everyone here today, along with other things around affordable housing and how can we make sure that we have set ourselves up with strong community engagement to make sure that everyone here is at the center of the decisions that are being made, as this district is really at a pivotal moment, and we are a microcosm of the county and the broader state and the nation. So we have a lot of change coming, and I lead people through change all day at work as a director at Amtrak, and I'm here to serve and support the residents of District 2. Thank you.
Thank you both. And the first question, if I am not mistaken, will go to Jamie. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I got it now. Okay. So here is the first question, and this concerns data centers. potential benefits of more jobs and increased revenues offered by data centers might well be offset by increased demands for power, infrastructure, and water, as well as environmental impact, decreased property values, and lower quality of life for nearby residents. Jamie, how do you see data centers fitting into Frederick County's future, and what cost-benefit analysis inform your position?
There wasn't a true cost-benefit analysis, which I think was part of the challenge. As we understand this topic in the county, we know the change is coming. I spoke on December 16th at the council hearing, asking the council to take a pause to wait for the state study bill. I also encouraged us to get an independent cost-benefit analysis because the math wasn't mathing. I've heard 3 different numbers in terms of the potential revenue, but we have to understand the costs, and that's the responsible thing to do. And as a county council member, I'll make sure that we take a look at what the both sides of those equations are. I also wrote a letter to the editor in support of leveraging the charter amendment around referendum, because I think, as we are new to charter government still, and as somebody that worked on the Charter Yes campaign to get this form of government put in place, I feel like it's fair to test that provision and to put the vote to the people and to have folks have a say in what happens with the future of Frederick County. I understand the interest in repurposing the East Alco site. I would have preferred to go with the Planning Commission's recommendation on this and to be more intentional about how we are bringing this very high intense industry into Frederick County. Thank you.
I agree with Jamie.
You have to speak up. You have your it's down to the speaking.
All right, get closer.
Technology.
Hi. I said I agree with Jamie in that I believe that this should be brought up for a referendum. The citizens of Frederick County District 2 and the whole county can vote on this. This is going to be a very massive center, using lots and lots of electricity and lots of water. In fact, as data centers are spreading around the country, we expect about 12% of our national energy is just going to be devoted to data centers, and that's a big, tremendous amount. I believe that we need to see, like you said, a cost-benefit analysis. I think that we need to see how this is going to work in the environment. People around the country are complaining about that this is taking up too much energy, that it's taxing the power grid. People are seeing blackouts and everything. So I believe that, you want to see technology advance, but we need to slow down and make sure that, that we can catch it when it's young, early, to make any changes before we roll out on bigger, larger scales. We have to see how this affects our environment, how it affects our electricity grid, how it's going to affect the natural resources. So that is my belief. Thank you.
Shelley, get your microphone back. You have question 2 first. And this question concerns education. A recent state assessment of the Frederick County schools showed 69% of students failing algebra, 54% failed grade 5 math, 57% failed grade 5 science, and 33% failed grade 10 English. How and where do you think the county should direct resources to the public schools to address these critical shortcomings?
We need to increase funding. I know we had a little bump in funding this year, I think by 3.1%, but that wasn't near enough what we need. We got to make sure that we're keeping Frederick and students on pace with other communities in Maryland, so we're not losing teachers, valuable teachers, to those areas. Like I said, so we really have to increase resources, look for every avenue that we can. I know that during the governors, that they had to cut a lot of our funding, and we had to look for new ways to increase what we have. I recommend that we go out and ask for different, trying to think, different areas and different things we can do to increase loans and stuff to our school system. And the other thing that we need to make sure that we are doing is a lot of our schools are old and antiquated. You know, like even trying to add new, like we have to make sure our students stay up technology wise with everybody else. A lot of our schools are old, have been built a long time ago, and don't really have the infrastructure to do the upgrades that we're going to need so that our children can move and, you know, can move with the nation. So therefore, like I said, we have to increase funding, increase other avenues to get money to the kids.
The superintendent has put forward over $1 billion budget, and it's not enough. As I've talked to educators and excuse me, and staff, the superintendent has been put in a position to only ask for the bare minimum and what she feels is politically feasible. What I would encourage the Board of Education and the superintendent to do is to put forward a budget that reflects the true needs of the county to solve some of the problems that you shared, Deb. The other thing that I don't want to lose sight of is, you know, funding special education. I've been serving as the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee chair for over 2 years, and there's a $99 million shortfall alone just for students with disabilities, and the federal government has continued not to pay its bill for that, and the state and the county are forced to make up those dollars. So the challenge, we can't solve the problem if we don't understand what the true need is. So what I would be looking for as a county council member is for that budget to come forward and reflect truly what the cost of educating our students is. The special education instructional assistants have to work 3 jobs to do what they do, and 2 of them support my daughter through her school day. It's unconscionable what we pay our teachers today, and as the Apple ballot candidate, I have earned the trust and the tremendous responsibility to represent the concerns and the perspectives of the school system, and that's what I intend to do as the next council member in District 2.
Frederick County faces growing demands to balance the preservation of rural land with opportunities for business growth and affordable housing. In February this year, Frederick County received 9 requests to rezone agricultural land to industrial purposes. 6 of these were from Potomac Edison and involved more than 340 acres. What is your position in addressing the balance regarding this request and any future rezoning requests?
Yeah, it's a tough question. You know, District 2 and Frederick County at large are facing rapid growth. It's the fastest growing county in the state of Maryland, and a lot of people want to come here because of the school systems. A lot of people want to come here because of the opportunity, but we do have to figure out how to balance the preservation of our farmland. Agriculture is the biggest economic driver in Frederick County. We also have to balance this with what people want to do with their own land. And we have processes and procedures that help us understand the kinds of zoning. We have, you know, the state laws as well as what we do locally within our ordinances. You know, there's challenges with getting new development through the pipeline. There are, you know, a lot of bureaucratic processes, but we have to figure out, you know, what is Frederick County going to grow up to be? And you know, I think that's really what we need to talk to the residents about. We need to understand what their perspectives are, and that's where I think some of this is kind of going sideways in Frederick County now. We've lost the voice of the people in the community and the pulse on what they want Frederick County to be. And so I'm here to represent those perspectives for District 2, and it's not going to be an easy job to balance all of those concerns, and that's why you need a systems thinker to do the work and to connect with the different stakeholders that are making these decisions to figure out where do we get to a common ground.
Hi, I think it's all about balance. Let's face it, you know, that as people get priced out of Montgomery County and other places, that they are coming here. I think our natural beauty, our scenic beauty is what attracts people here, and it's a good place, and actually all of the freedoms that we enjoy in Maryland that many other states are having more problems with. like I said, it's a balance of land use, like you said, talking to people, finding out more about these facilities, and like I said, and we've got a balanced development with the need to preserve our scenic areas, and making sure we don't pollute our lands and our waters in the drive to grow and expand. We also need to make sure that our infrastructure stays on pace, stays on par with development. Like I said, we need to make sure that either the land use designation, and be very careful when we're switching the land use designations, to make sure that, like I said, there's a balance between being progressive and growing and keeping our natural beauty and our resources.
Question 4 concerns candidates' priorities. And it's not 5 lines long, so that's a good thing. In choosing to run for public office, you have a list of things you wish to accomplish during your tenure. What are the top 3 issues important enough that they keep you awake at night?
Education, getting the funding that we need to make sure that our schools remain competitive, and that all areas, that everybody comes up to be hopefully on par with each other, all the different school districts. Keeping teachers, that's one of the things that keep me up at night. What else is, it's just that I'm gonna say the growth of our county, making sure that it doesn't outpace our infrastructure and our resources. So that's the sort of things that keep me up at night. And I'm trying to think, and a third one is also looking at our business communities, for small businesses. You know, I have traveled, for many years I had to travel back and forth for a job to DC, and sometimes the commute could take 2.5 hours to get there. So it's making sure that we start to build businesses in Frederick where people can work and they don't have to travel those long distances. And the other thing that's keeping me up at night is you go around the city and you see so many stores, restaurants, and everything that are closing. You know, how are the people in this county and in Frederick going to find jobs when so many stores and businesses are closing? So those are the things that keep me up at night.
The 3 things that keep me up at night are the rate of technological change and the impact on our society and our community, making sure that we can fund fully inclusive public schools as a mom of a daughter who has a disability, and figuring out how we're going to solve the affordable housing crisis that we're not really taking seriously. And we have folks that need to age in place. We have not designed homes with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey encourages us to do. I'd love to see us build more inclusive communities that are oriented around transit. As a director at Amtrak, I see the value of strong public transportation, passenger rail. We're in the process of modernizing passenger rail, a 100-year-old industry that hasn't seen a lot of change. And so with that perspective and where Frederick County is and the challenges and the opportunities that face us as this rate of technological change is happening to us, you need somebody on the council that understands how to bring these perspectives together and how to make informed, community-driven decisions. And I'd like to see more around the Cherry Run development and how the community came out around that to really get the stakeholder input. So making sure that we understand the rate of change, we're building affordable housing, and we're creating inclusive public spaces, including our school system. Thank you.
All right, and I believe we have time for one more question, and that question concerns infrastructure. Infrastructure is critical for the safety and quality of life of District 2 residents. These include fire and rescue services, roads and schools, as well as stormwater and storm management, all of which place huge demands on the county budget. What are the most important priorities for District 2, and what trade-offs might be required?
Yeah, in terms of infrastructure, for the change that's coming with IW2 and the South Frederick corridor, we have to look at what's happening with 75 and 80. We have to look at, the bridge that all these trucks try to go under and get stuck. We've got to figure out how to solve that and work with the state to get something done around that. Infrastructure isn't just roads and bridges. It's also schools. It's also housing. So we need to look at these things collectively and holistically and figure out how are we going to bring all of these great studies and plans that are being released, the Green Infrastructure Plan, the Housing Needs Assessment that also Comptroller Learman had already released. How are we bringing all of these different pieces and plans together to create a holistic approach to meeting what comes next for Frederick County and specifically District 2. Shelley mentioned a lot of folks coming in from Montgomery County. That is changing the landscape of District 2. So we want to make sure that, a lot of the federal workers that I've talked to, that they aren't priced out of their homes. In my neighborhood in the Urbana Highlands, I'm priced out of my home. So there are multiple houses on the market right around me, and I can't afford those homes. So we need to figure out how we're going to solve these challenges for folks.
I mean, as we all know, growth is outpacing our infrastructure. And we have to do everything, we have to do everything we can to build up the infrastructure so we can grow proportionally. Again, there has to be a balance between growth and preserving our the natural beauty of this county. Different plans. I would say, and there's another area that is of concern or of importance to me that also has to do with infrastructure and as Jamie mentioned, housing. Another problem that we have is affordable housing, and another problem we have is that people have scraped together all the money they can to be able to purchase a condo, and because of the buildings collapsing in Florida, those condos rates have escalated too. So that's going to be another area of concern, again, in the county, is not only finding affordable housing, but also maybe helping people who have a home that are just being priced out just because their homeowners' fees have just escalated so greatly. Like I said, 2-hour commutes to get down to DC, and you couldn't even get from, say, Urbana into Frederick. So buses, roads, like I said, I'd like to see some buses get to the other counties, and not just Frederick, so that we can get around.
Thank you both. Now we are going to move into our closing statements, and Jamie, I would ask that you close first.
Sure, I'm going to stand up for this one. So as I said, I am a mom. I am somebody who understands where technology meets our daily lives. I understand, the challenges that are facing District 2. There's a tremendous amount of growth. We know that we need to balance that with protecting and preserving our agricultural way of living. We need to make sure that small businesses, there's been multiple small businesses in Urbana alone that have left because of high rents, so we need to figure things out around that. But ultimately, what I want you to take away is that I'm here to be your partner as a council member. I'm here to bring together the diverse perspectives of District 2 across all the stakeholder groups, whether it's folks who are working in sustainability, folks who are trying to solve the affordable housing crisis, folks who want to bring a business here in District 2. There's lots of opportunity in places like Newmarket on Main Street to potentially revitalize that space. There's lots of opportunity for us to come together and really put the people at the center of the tremendous weight of the decisions that we have coming to us as we move forward as a county. So that is my commitment to you. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. When we think about things like the data center, the heavy, intense use around this type of development, I want to make sure that we're making these decisions with all of the information available. And if we don't have that information, I will commit to you to go help them get that information so that we know that we're being good stewards of taxpayer dollars and that we're setting ourselves up for success in the future. So I look forward to connecting with all of you. You can follow me along on social media. You can check out more at jamieshoplin.com. I'm out knocking doors. I've held multiple community listening sessions, and I have more coming up. And I look forward to staying in touch.
So as I was saying in my introduction, you know, I moved to Frederick County because I wanted my daughter to grow up in a place with a community with great schools, great neighborhoods, and real opportunity, and I found that here in District 2. Over the years, I've become deeply involved in our community, serving as president of the Women's Democratic League and also serving as executive member of the Frederick County Democratic Central Committee. I was elected in 2022. I'm also editor of the Banner newsletter, and I get out in this community and I talk to people. You know, people often come up to me and say, Shelley, you are everywhere, because I show up, I listen, and I get things done. I'm running to keep housing affordable, ensure responsibility and growth for transportation, and protect the character and quality of life. A little bit about my background. I have worked for NEA Member Benefits, which is with the national organization. I have worked with Union Privilege, which is a benefit organization for all the AFL-CIO unions. I have worked for 2 healthcare newsletter publishers. I've also worked with broker-dealers and financial advisors also during my career. So I have an extended background that I think can be applicable to many issues and things that we need in this area. Basically, I am Shelley Beer-Francois. I am running for County District 2. I'm ready to bring trusted leadership, proven commitment, and a voice for Frederick's future to this county council. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Are we gonna take a little break?
Well, we're gonna,